Okay, so section 4.4, trig of any angle. It's actually pretty similar to what we did last year in integrated 3 with just a little bit more information given to us. So I'm just going to look at the signs to try to figure out the beginning part of this. So if I look, I'm being told that cotangent is negative. Okay, so I'm definitely not in quadrant 3. So cotangent is negative. And I'll take out a little coordinate plane here. Cotangent is negative. So it's not there, and it's not there, because cotangent's positive in both of those. Okay, now let's take a look at the next bit of information. Next bit says that sine is bigger than 0, which means sine is positive. Okay, well, sine's not positive down there, so it looks like we are up in this quadrant. Now, the information that's given to me was not, it's not a special triangle. I don't have the ratio of like a root 2 or a root 3. So now I'm just going to put the information in where it goes. Now for me, I'm a big fan of using the original functions first. So if I'm given cotangent, I'm going to immediately write this as tangent. So tangent is going to be negative 7/9. If you have a negative ratio, it doesn't matter if the negative is in the top or if the negative is in the bottom. Just make sure you put the negative sign on the appropriate side based off of direction. So I'll take a look back at the picture. There's my theta. I know that tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite over adjacent. And then put the negative sign on the correct one. Like the negative has to go on the 9. And then from here, I'm just going to do some Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to do 7 squared plus 9 squared. I'm not using the negative sign to do c squared. And then I'm going to square root that to figure out the length of this. And since it's not special, I don't have to simplify this. This is just going to be the square root of 130. So I'm going to put root 130 on the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always positive. Don't put a negative sign there. Doesn't make any sense. And then let's go ahead and just fill in the stuff. So based off of what I found originally, I know that tangent is negative 7/9. Cotangent was given to me, that's negative 9/7. And yes, in that quadrant, tangent and cotangent are both negative. And then from here, I'm just going to start putting my ratios together. So I've got opposite over hypotenuse, and then flip that guy over. And then I've got adjacent over hypotenuse, and then flip that guy over. And then cosine is complementary cofunction with sine, so then I'm just going to grab sine. And then just do a quick check on what quadrant you're in. The quadrant that I am in is a S. So sine and its reciprocal and anything associated with sine and its reciprocal has to be positive. Those are my answers. And you don't have to simplify. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Let's see. I want sine to be negative. Okay, sine is negative if it is down. So I don't want to be here and I don't want to be here. Okay, I want to be between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Okay, pi over 2 is there. 3 pi over 2 is there, and it's the sweeping of that movement. So it's from here to here. Okay, well, I'm definitely not down here then. So it looks like I'm going to be in this quadrant. There's my theta. Put the information in. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Put the negative sign on the correct one. The hypotenuse is never negative, which means that is. This looks extremely familiar to me. If the hypotenuse is 5 and one of the legs is 3, the other one is 4. This is the 3, 4, 5 triple. And then pay attention, this is left. So watch your signs. Okay, let's go ahead and fill in sine that was given to us. Sine's negative 3/5, which means the reciprocal is negative 5/3. Okay, cosine is going to be adjacent, negative 4 over hypotenuse 5, secants the reciprocal of that. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is going to be 3/4. Cotangent's the reciprocal, so that's 4/3. And then cosecant is a complementary cofunction with secant. And then just grab my answer from secant, which is negative 5/4. Do a quick check on the sign. Let's see, we are in AS, we're in T quadrant. So tangent and its reciprocal are the only ones that are positive. Okay, why don't you pause it now, see if you can figure out what quadrant we're in for this. So identify your signs and just eliminate locations and then come back and see if you're right. Okay, it looks like we're going to be in quadrant 4. So if tangent is going to be negative, then I got rid of quadrant 1 and quadrant 3 because tangent's positive there. And then, we'll do the color coding. So I got rid of this one and I got rid of that one because of tangent. Then with cosine had to be bigger than 0, which means cosine's positive, but up there cosine's negative, so I got rid of that, which means I'm in quadrant 4. Okay, tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. Put the negative sign on the appropriate one. It's not on the 5, that's to the right. It's on the 7 because it's down. And then we have to do Pythagorean theorem because this isn't a triple that I recognize. So this is going to give me 5 squared plus 7 squared is equal to c squared. I don't have to simplify it because it's not special. It's going to be 25 and 49. And if I put those together, that's going to give me 74. So this is the square root of 74. Remember, the hypotenuse is never negative. All right, let's start filling stuff in. So the information that was given to me was tangent. So I may as well just put that in, negative 7/5 for tangent, which means cotangent is negative 5/7. Oh, looks like I chopped the top of this off. All right, let's put sine theta up here. Cosecant theta up here. Okay, so I've got those two. And then if I take a look at the picture, it looks like sine is going to be opposite, negative 7 over hypotenuse root 74. Cosecant's going to be the reciprocal. Make sure I take my root symbol with me. Over 7, and then cosine is going to be adjacent, 5 over hypotenuse root 74. Secant's going to be the reciprocal. I already have cotangent and tangent, and the complementary cofunction of tangent is tangent itself, and I'm just going to grab my tangent answer. Okay, then I think about what quadrant I'm in. It looks like I am in the 4th quadrant, so that's the AST, that's the C quadrant, which means cosine and its reciprocal are the only ones that should be positive and anything associated with those. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So we know that theta is going to be equal to pi. All right. So pi, well, let's see, we know this is 0, and if it's a full loop, it's also 2 pi. A half a loop is over here at pi. Okay, the location for this is negative 1, 0. Remember that the x is cosine and the y is sine. All right, let's start filling stuff in. So sine is 0. The reciprocal is going to be undefined. Cosine is negative 1. The reciprocal is negative 1. If I do sine over cosine, this is 0. The reciprocal of 0 is undefined. Cosine is a complementary cofunction with sine. So I take my sine answer and I put it here. Can't really do the quadrant business, the ASTC, because you're not in a quadrant, you're on an axis. Okay, let's take a look at the 16 pi over 3. So why don't you take a second, figure out where 16 pi over 3 actually puts us. Maybe find a positive or negative coterminal angle that you're a little bit more familiar with so you know where you're landing. Remember, it's not about graphing the entire angle, it's figuring out where you're landing. And then come back and see if you found the right spot. Okay, so I did some coterminal. I took my 16 pi over 3 and I minused a full loop, so 2 pi, and I ended up with 10 pi over 3. I knew that was still over 2 pi, so I subtracted another 2 pi. So I did 10 pi over 3 minus 2 pi, getting closer to radians that I know within the first loop of the unit circle, and I get to 4 pi over 3. So I went ahead and sketched where 4 pi over 3 is and then put my information into the picture. Remember that the x is cosine, the y is sine, and then this is one of the special right triangles. You're going to want to know all of these. So before you check your answer against mine, pause right now. Let's see if you know this. Watch your positive and negative signs as well. Okay, so I know that sine's going to be negative root 3 over 2. Cosecant's going to be the reciprocal of that after it's been rationalized, so it's negative 2 root 3 over 3. Cosine's negative half. Reciprocal of that is going to be secant, so negative 2. Tangent is sine over cosine. Remember, the 2's are going to cancel, so I'm going to end up with negative root 3 over negative 1, which is just root 3. And then cotangent is going to be the reciprocal, so 1 over root 3 rationalized. And then cotangent is complementary cofunction for tangent. Okay, let's check our quadrants. AS, we're in the T quadrant, which means tangent, cotangent have to be positive. Everybody else is negative. Okay, given point is located on the terminal side of an angle in standard position. Okay, so we know what this is. We're going to take out our coordinate plane, and I'm going to plot that point. So I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to go 11 in the positive direction, and then I'm going to go negative 2 in the y direction, just like I would actually plot a point. So this point is 11, negative 2. And then just put the lengths on the sides as well. Remember, it's negative 2 because it's down. Okay, well, now I have theta. I can go and do the exact same thing that we did before. Information is just handed to you in a different fashion. Okay, so let's do Pythagorean theorem. So this is going to give me 11 squared plus 2 squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. That's 121 plus 4. That's 125 for c squared. This is not a special right triangle, so I don't have to simplify that. That's the square root of 125. Now, fill in everything that you're supposed to know. So write all 6 trig for this. Pause it. See if you can do it. Watch your positives and negatives. Okay, if you check yours against mine, notice that I did not simplify the root 125. You can, but you don't have to. And I don't have to rationalize with the root 125 in the bottom because it's not a special right triangle. Totally fine leaving it this way. Okay, let's check the quadrant that we're in. AST, we're in the C quadrant, which means cosine and its reciprocal secant are the only ones that are positive. Everything else is going to be negative. Okay, I think this is going to be our last one for the notes for this one. So I want you to see if you can draw this picture. Figure out where this is going to be. Okay, based off of the fact that this is a negative point, so left and down, that's going to put us in quadrant 3. So I went through, the left part is my x, so that's the first thing that shows up, and then my y. Went ahead and plotted it just like I would prior to even taking a trig class. Now from here, I need to go through and figure out what the hypotenuse is so that I could go through and list all 6 trig. So I'm going to do leg squared plus, I'm going to use parentheses around this guy, leg squared is equal to c squared. Okay, so that's going to give me 64. When you're doing this, you're going to distribute. So the 2 squared is going to be 4 times, and then the square and the square root there are going to cancel. So that's going to give me 3. So this is actually 12 for 2 root 3 squared. And then if I add those together, that's going to give me 76, which means the hypotenuse is going to be the square root of 76. Let's go ahead and put this here. Okay, now that we know that, go ahead and list out all your trig. Come back and check. Hey, you'll notice the only thing that I did now that I haven't done previously is I actually simplified one of them, but that was only because it was obvious. So if you look at my tangent, I was able to simplify down. And the negative 2. So then I could simplify this so that the 8 and the 2 cancel to give me 4. Double check your positive and negative and make sure that they're correct. We are in the AST quadrant, so tangent and cotangent. Those are the only ones that are positive.